Let's start this story with an introduction to the bullies who are about to get bullied. The first guy in front of us is Ju Young-chil. Then there's the leader of these goons, Park Kang-wook. These zesty-ass bastards spend their days bullying weak students, extorting money from them, and repeating the cycle daily. Their current victim is a poor kid named Dong-gu. But that's about to change. Rumors have been spreading about a new transfer student who has been wiping the floor with every bully in the school. He just recently took down a few of the guys who were trying to steal food in the cafeteria. And as fate would have it, that very transfer student just walked into the classroom where these bastards are currently beating their first victim of the day. As for his introduction, his name is Doyle. And right now, he's looking for the so-called boss of this school. He turns to the goon in front of him and asks if he's the boss. But instead of giving a straight answer, this shithead makes the mistake of running his mouth unnecessarily. And for that, he earns himself a slap so fucking hard that his brain scrambles inside his skull, sending him crashing to the floor. The girls in the classroom are absolutely astonished. A guy with this much guts, this much presence, he's not just a Sigma, he embodies the ultimate Giga Chad attitude. Not to mention he's goddamn handsome. The friend of the goon who just got knocked out jumps up, clearly not happy about Doyle making moves in their turf without a single shred of hesitation. He starts yapping non-stop, questioning Doyle's audacity, asking Doyle if he even knows who he's messing with. Well, Doyle admits he doesn't. After all, he just transferred today. The goon, realizing words aren't enough, tries to throw a punch. And that's a big mistake. Doyle catches the bastard's filthy hand midair and twists his fingers so hard that he lets out a blood-curdling scream as if someone just boned him from behind. While calmly continuing to twist his fingers, Doyle repeats the question, "Are you the boss?" The goon, unable to endure the excruciating pain any longer, quickly points to his leader, Park Kang-wook. Of course, Kang-wook is not too thrilled that his own underling just threw him under the bus. But before he can react, Doyle delivers another slap so hard that the goon is down for good. With the path now cleared, Doyle walks up to Park Kang-wook and asks the same question. "Are you the school boss here?" Not surprisingly, Kang-wook makes the same mistake his lackeys did, running his mouth unnecessarily. So Doyle gives him a well-deserved punch right across the face, making him stagger backward. Instead of taking the hint, this unfortunate bastard decides to fight back and throws a punch of his own. And oh boy, the way Doyle dodges that punch is so fucking cool. Now it's Doyle's turn to show what he's got. His fist connects perfectly with Kang-wook's face. The second one also does not miss its mark. And to finish things off, he delivers a brutal kick that sends the bastard flying straight into the window, leaving his face a bloody mess. The students watching are absolutely stunned. Kang-wook is left battered, bruised, and with an ego just as broken as his face. With the job done, Doyle makes his exit with the same ferocity he came in with. Dong-gu, still barely able to process what just happened, takes a shaky breath. He never expected to witness something like this. Meanwhile, the TikToker girl in the back is totally smitten. All she can think about is getting clapped by this guy. Later, Dong-gu meets Doyle and makes a request to wipe out all the bullies in the school, just like he did in the classroom. But Doyle is not taking the job without the necessary compensation. You see, it hasn't been long since he came to Korea, and he is broke as hell. If Dong-gu wants to use his strength, it ain't free. Dong-gu argues that this is a righteous cause, that strong people should protect the weak. That's just how things should be. Well, Doyle doesn't buy into that bullshit. Nor does he have time to argue about it. His demand is simple, no money, no work. But Dong-gu is desperate and tries to plead one last time. He and his friends are living a life of misery. Not a single day goes by without them getting beaten. The worst part is that if they report anything to the teachers, they just get bullied even more. For Dong-gu, every day feels like wandering in endless darkness with no light or hope. But that was until yesterday. Seeing Doyle take out those bullies like they were nothing was the first spark of hope he'd seen in years. So he begs him desperately. But Doyle remains unmoved. He gets where Dong-gu is coming from, but he makes one thing clear. A man needs money to survive. And besides, he's already got his own fair share of problems to deal with. Hearing how Doyle is talking about money, Dong-gu remembers all the bullies who used to beat him to a pulp just to get cash out of him. So, bro finally explodes out in frustration, fed up with people messing with him just for money. Seems like Doyle has no choice but to explain his circumstances. You see, Doyle's father is the head of the world's top killer organization, known as Blackhead. And Doyle was born and raised there. But some time ago, his parents got divorced because his father was a toxic bastard who wandered down the path of misogyny and always made his mother cry. So, with no other choice, he and his younger sibling went to Korea with their mom without asking their father's permission. This, of course, enraged their father, who, in an act of revenge, blocked all the accounts under their names, leaving them with no money. While Doyle had planned to live in the tallest building in Korea, that all went down the drain because he had no money. With that said, he proceeds to walk away because today is his interview at Burger Kim, and he doesn't want to blow this opportunity. As he's saying all this, that TikTok girl who's fallen headfirst for Doyle is eavesdropping from the sidelines. Dong-gu, meanwhile, isn't sure if he should believe all this crap. But on the other hand, this guy doesn't seem like the type who makes ridiculous jokes. Regardless, Dong-gu offers him 50,000 won for each person he takes down. Well, the offer is enough to make Doyle stand still. Donggu isn't sure if he offered too little and wonders if he should have given extra. But contrary to his expectations, Doyle takes the job without a second thought. Meanwhile, the TikTok lady is still ogling at Doyle like a fan. Later we cut to a group of thugs chilling under a gazebo. They've caught the rumor that Park Kang-wook got his ass whooped by a transfer student. This fatty is amazed that one single transfer student was able to beat Kang-wook and his two lackeys single-handedly. As for this fatso's introduction, his name is Park Ju-young, judo club captain. Park Kang-wook was a good underling to them, who extorted money from others and paid taxes to this fatty. But now, Fatty fears that his fat ass won't be able to eat more pizzas because their money supply has been cut off. Then there's another fatty, who shares the same thoughts. His name is Park Ju-dong, vice captain of the judo club. They're currently planning to take down that transfer student who doesn't seem to know how to mind his own business. But looks like they don't need to make any effort to find Doyle, because he's walked right into their territory to have a one-on-one with these bastards. We also have Donggu, hiding under a BoJack Horseman mask. Before Doyle engages in a fight, Donggu fills him in on how dangerous these bastards are. Kang-wook was just their underling, while these guys are the real deal. They're considered the capital bosses of Samoon High School. The judo twins, Park Ju-hyung and Park Ju-dong, are trying to become national athletes, so they keep their records clean during school and use Kang-wook for their dirty work. Kang-wook is the one who earns them money by bullying others. And if Kang-wook doesn't provide enough, they'll just beat the hell out of him. But as you can imagine, these introductions are unnecessary for someone like Doyle. All he wants to know is if these guys are his targets. We also notice that the TikTok girl who has fallen head over heels for Doyle is hanging around with the judo twins and still seems to be obsessing over him. She's watching the clip she recorded of him over and over. Her name is Seol Mina, by the way. She's clearly obsessed, still thinking about him. Seeing how she's fixated on her phone, Judong is curious about why she's so invested in it. Whatever she's seeing, he wants to see too, but the lady flatly refuses. At the same time, we see Doyle coming in like a wrecking ball, landing a solid knee smash right on Judong's face. The impact is brutal, and that fatso is literally knocked out cold with a single hit. The other fatty quickly lunges at Doyle, but he remains calm and composed, as if he's not scared at all. His nonchalant attitude throws the fatty off. For a moment, he wonders if Doyle has backup to give him this much calm. But before the fatty can process anything, he's rocked by a punch so hard that his bloody nose splatters like a messed up tomato. But things are about to get even more brutal for this poor fatty. Doyle swings his leg with lightning speed, aiming straight for the fatty's small balls. That ungodly strike is so overwhelming that it literally cracks the fatty's nuts. The explosion of pain is so intense that the bastard's soul momentarily leaves his body because the pain is just too unbearable. With that final punch to the head, Doyle seals the deal on the spot. Mina, on the other hand, is practically wetting herself watching this Sigma Doyle smash all these bastards. And once again, she can barely hold her urge to get herself clapped. With the two guys down, Doyle earns 50,000 won for each person. Next day, not only did Doyle rack up some money, but his riz and aura also earned him the title of the strongest man alive at Samoon High School. Brochures about the recent exploits of our hero are being distributed, which is more of a clear threat to all the bullies at the school. Whoever dares to go against the new king of fighters will face their doom. Doyle is currently being escorted by Donggu and his friends around like the king he is, all to expand his influence and attract as many eyeballs as they can. Doyle has no objections to what Donggu is trying to pull. So long as he's getting paid, he's fine. And for the record, Doyle wants to charge extra for this parade. As he's counting the money he's earned by taking down the bastards, he notices that the money he received isn't the full amount he was promised. He's sure he took care of 4 people, including the 2 judo pigs and their henchmen. He wonders if those other 2 guys don't count. Donggu clarifies that he only requested the elimination of the judo twins, namely Ju-hyung and Ju-dong. But Doyle isn't ready to hear any crap and demands Donggu cough up another 100,000 won. After all, Donggu's from a rich family, so even 200,000 won is just pocket change for him. Donggu suddenly stops to question Doyle, asking how he knew about his family background. What Donggu can understand is that Doyle only approached him because this bastard knew his family was rich. To get context on how Doyle came to know about his family, we cut to the past, where a few of Donggu's friends mention how his family is rich. So Doyle simply states that the entire school knows about how rich his family is. Not to mention, it was Donggu who approached him first. With that said, Doyle demands the 100,000 won Donggu owes him, and this amount does not include the charges for the parade. With no other option, Donggu just happily flashes an OK sign. We then cut to Mina, who is staring at the brochure, once again unable to help but admire our boy's beauty. Her friend also admits that the transfer student is indeed handsome, and it's no wonder why every girl in the school is staring at his picture in the brochure. Hearing this, Mina gets annoyed and enraged. To her, it feels like all the other girls are staring at her husband, and she just can't stand it. She quickly snatches the image of her lover out of one girl's hands and threatens her with death if she ever dares lay her filthy gaze on her man. One by one, Mina collects all of the brochures the other girls in the classroom had. As she finishes swiping all of the brochures, she suddenly notices that one of her friends, Jang Hyunwoo, wants to see her. Later, under a shady bridge, we meet a blonde guy named Jang Hyun-woo from Cheongil High School. This is actually the next target Doyle is supposed to take down. As for the introduction of this guy, Hyun-woo is hailed as the king of Southern Seoul. Then there's another guy from Ilgyung High School, and he is PG Chael's subordinate. As an executive member of 12 nations, he is undoubtedly powerful. Doyle wants more details regarding this 12 nations that Donggu speaks of, but Donggu reminds him that this is a topic for another day. Currently, their main focus is Jang Hyun-woo, because this opponent is someone they can't afford to underestimate. After all, this bastard had the liberty of becoming the champion of a mature boxing tournament, not just once, but thrice. With physique and instincts far beyond an ordinary person, even the judo twins, who fought this bastard together, didn't stand a chance against him. Furthermore, the scariest thing about Jang Hyun-woo is the fact that he is cruel by nature. In simpler words, if this guy sets his sights on someone, he makes sure to harass and push his opponent to their absolute limit. He is so cruel that people would rather die than be humiliated at his hands. And once he snaps, there's no telling what he might do. To exercise precaution, Donggu decides to watch the fight unfold from the sidelines, and if things escalate, he will make sure to report it to the police immediately. But before this jackass can finish yapping, Doyle is already out and about, ready to beat those guys up. We then cut back to Hyun-woo himself, and Mina is also there in his company. Hyun-woo has just finished beating the hell out of her male friends because she didn't pick up his call on time. But Mina doesn't give a damn about these guys, and refuses to even consider them her friends. The poor boys, who took a serious beating because of her, can only curse her under their breath. Now back to the main reason she was summoned here. Hyun-woo wants her to go on a date with him. He even promises to give her the best time of her life while they're together. But it looks like his dating plans have to be put on hold because a glass bottle is heading straight at him, courtesy of Doyle. Hyun-woo simply ducks down and saves himself, while Doyle sighs in disappointment. Since he missed the mark, now he has to fight this bastard, which is such a drag. Mina begins blushing at the sight of Doyle once again, while Hyun-woo is absolutely furious and demands to know who the hell this bastard is. Mina, meanwhile, starts getting the wrong idea that this guy came to save her. By now, even Doyle notices this crazy lady always showing up wherever he goes, and calling it just a coincidence would be a long shot. The only thought that crosses his mind is that she must be observing his movements. Not to mention, she is always staring at him with weird gazes. So, he finally addresses her. Bro grabs her by the face and makes his threat clear. While he doesn't know who the hell she is, if she's here to pull some bullshit on him, she'll end up as good as dead. But this crazy lady is more than ready to be strangled and killed by the hands of our boy. She straight up gives him the green light to do it. Let's not forget about Hyun-woo, who is absolutely furious to see our boy laying a hand on the woman he loves. In a fit of rage, he balls up his fist and charges at Doyle with godly speed. The punch he's about to land is his signature move. His speed is so fast that even Donggu, just watching from a distance, is losing his mind. But Hyun-woo's momentum is quickly broken by spit. Someone just spat at him. While he manages to safeguard his face from getting splattered by that nasty liquid, he isn't so lucky when Doyle swings his leg and delivers a precisely aimed kick right into his gut. The impact is brutal, leaving Hyun-woo gasping for air. As he is dazed and disoriented from the kick, Doyle decides to deliver another hit. This time, he intends to splatter the bastard's head with a stool he has in his hand. Poor bastard has no time to dodge the oncoming attack. First, it was spit, and now Doyle literally pulled that stool out of nowhere. But it looks like the stool was just a mere distraction. Doyle only uses it as cover before delivering a devastating uppercut. Not only is it painful, but it's also humiliating. Hyun-woo is seriously losing it at this point. In blind fury, he swings a punch with lightning speed. But the punch just zips past as Doyle leans back slightly, dodging it with ease. Though the punch was sharp and precise, it was so fast that it literally blew away a few strands of Doyle's hair. Doyle remains unshaken. Without a moment's delay, he balls up his fist and throws a punch straight into Hyun-woo's gut. That gut punch is so overwhelming that Hyun-woo immediately senses his ribs cracking. But Doyle assures him that his ribs aren't broken yet. The real damage comes when he slams a stool directly into Hyun-woo's ribs. And this time it literally does. Bro's ribs crack and his breath gets stuck in his lungs. The once mighty fighter, considered the king of this joint, is now nothing more than a beaten-up piñata. His goons just stand there frozen, having no clue what the hell just happened. The dude who was getting bullied is also in absolute awe. Hyun-woo, on the other hand, is struggling to breathe. Now that Doyle is done teaching this bastard a lesson with his fists, there's only one thing left to say. But he forgets what he was supposed to say. Donggu had told him to deliver a warning to bullies, telling them not to mess with the innocent or face severe consequences. Since Doyle can't remember the exact line, he decides to say something even more colorful, something far more threatening and scary. Doyle makes his threat crystal clear. If this bastard ever dares to mess around instead of living quietly, or if he acts up and ends up standing before him again, Doyle swears to God he will tear apart everything this bastard loves. And after ripping them limb from limb, he will make sure to kill every single one of them. While Donggu is losing his mind over the deadly threat Doyle just issued, Mina, on the other hand, is absolutely going bonkers with love hormones firing in her head. She's losing it. All she wants in life is to ride him. The next day arrives, and in a private gym, another group of bullies is working out while mercilessly beating their victim. Suddenly, a guy rushes in with urgent news that one of their underlings, Hyung-woo, got his ass whooped by someone from Samoon High School. The guys in the gym aren't thrilled to hear this. After all, Samoon High School is at the bottom of the hierarchy. It's hard to believe those bottom feeders are trying to rebel against their seniors. Among them is Im Jongbeom from Ilgyung High School, which is ranked 4th. The next day, Jongbeom gathers his underlings from Samoon High, ready to beat down the gang responsible for hospitalizing Hyungwoo. However, he notices that their numbers are unusually low and demands an explanation. Kangwook explains that a few of their guys got hospitalized while trying to steal food in the cafeteria, but Jongbeom isn't interested in small fries. He wants to know about the twin judo piglets. Once again, Kangwook delivers bad news, their balls exploded, and they're also in the hospital. Jongbeom is absolutely livid, and delivers a devastating punch straight to the Kangwook's gut. As far as Jongbeom is concerned, what this guy is reporting is nothing more than bullshit, and he's not in the mood for stupid jokes. But the poor guy insists it's the truth. It's no surprise that Jongbeom doesn't know the full story, as it's been a while since he last checked in. However, his lackey's persistence only infuriates him more, and he prepares to slap the poor guy again. That's when Kangwook finally blurts out that it was the transfer student who did all this. Every recent incident involving their gang members traces back to that one particular transfer student. Finally, Jongbeom's rage subsides, replaced with burning curiosity. Now he's absolutely dying to meet this new bastard who has everyone on edge. Meanwhile, Mina, as usual, is ogling a video she secretly recorded of Doyle eating in the cafeteria. In the video, he notices her recording and forcefully shuts the camera off. We then shift focus to the classroom where she's seated. The teacher is looking for potential candidates for the film club. As soon as the announcement is made, students frantically raise their hands, eager to join. The teacher is pleased by their enthusiasm, assuming the film club must be popular. However, Mina has quite the opposite reaction. She can't even fathom that the bookworms, who usually bury their faces in textbooks, are suddenly showing interest. She already envisions herself walking alongside the love of her life. The film club is held in high regard among all activity clubs, and she refuses to let any other girl take the spotlight. Meanwhile, somewhere in the school, Doyle is also thinking about Mina. He's curious about why she's always stalking him and wants to figure out what her deal is. The only information Donggu has is that she was born in Shinlim-dong. Since Doyle has never seen her before in his past, he begins to suspect that she might be a spy sent by his father. Donggu changes the subject and asks which club Doyle plans to join. In response, Doyle expresses interest in the anime club. Of course, this makes zero sense to Donggu. The anime club is a holy haven for otakus, yet Doyle is the complete opposite of a typical otaku who does nothing but coom. That's when Jongbeom shows up, accompanied by his lackeys. Seeing our boy in the distance, Kangwook confirms Doyle's identity as the transfer student responsible for busting the judo twins' balls. Jongbeom grows increasingly annoyed at how his dumbass lackey keeps mentioning balls. It sounds creepy. Nonetheless, Jongbeom refocuses on Doyle. He steps forward, his entourage following closely behind. While Donggu is still rambling about anime club activities, Doyle suddenly spots the goons and, without a moment's delay, sprints toward them with the agility of a cheetah. Kangwook starts cowering upon seeing Doyle charging straight at them. While Kangwook knew this bastard was crazy, he didn't realize he was this crazy. Seeing the lamb running at them, Jongbeom quickly takes a stance, ready for battle. He takes the initiative and swings first, but his punch misses its mark. He tries again, yet Doyle effortlessly dodges with slick ninja moves, zipping past Jongbeom entirely. Jongbeom is left utterly bewildered. Why did this guy just ignore them and run past? The answer becomes clear when we see Mina in the distance. Doyle surprises her with his sudden appearance, causing her to panic. All the brochures she's holding go flying into the air as he pins her to the ground, landing on top of her. While this moment feels like a romantic encounter straight out of a drama to the nutcase lady, Doyle is strictly business. He begins his interrogation, demanding to know why she's stalking him and constantly taking photos of him. Furthermore, he wants to know if his father sent her to trail him. Of course, this love-struck lady completely misunderstands the situation, convinced that Doyle is planning to introduce her to his family. Meanwhile, let's not forget about Jongbeom, who looks absolutely infuriated after being ignored like this. The guy dashes toward Doyle, attempting to smash his head in. But our boy is quick. In a split second, he grabs the bastard's leg and pushes it away. It seems like Jongbeom has finally managed to get Doyle's attention, and that is not a good sign. The thug swings a punch, but Doyle ducks and avoids it effortlessly. Jongbeom refuses to relent. One blow after another, he continues his barrage of attacks. Despite his efforts, not a single one manages to connect. Doyle, on the other hand, decides it's time to retaliate with a punch of his own. But fate has other plans. Just as he is about to strike, the student head of Samoon High School intervenes, stopping the fight. His name is Wang Du-cheol, and he commands them to knock it off. Jongbeom is far from thrilled to see this boomer crashing the party. Nonetheless, he lights a cigarette, but not before throwing one final threat at Doyle. warning him of the consequences that await him tomorrow. With that, he takes his leave with his lackeys. Then Doyle does something unthinkable, something no one saw coming. He literally smashes Yongbyum over the head in front of the student head, and that single hit is enough to knock the poor guy out cold. On the sidelines, Kangwook begins sweating bullets, convinced that Doyle has just dug his own grave by attacking Yongbyum. Even Donggu, who had literally been paying Doyle to do this job, is left in complete awe. As far as he's concerned, Doyle hasn't even faced a mid-level boss yet, and now he's gone and attracted the attention of the real boss. We then cut to a shady apartment where a tattooed guy is torturing the hell out of his victims. His torment session is suddenly interrupted when his phone rings with news about Yongbom getting his ass whooped. This guy is from Ilgyung High School and his name is Im Jongchan. We finally learn about the infamous group known as the 12 Nations. They are 12 of the most feared delinquents in the country, notorious for their brutality. But to Doyle, the 12 Nations are nothing more than a bunch of thugs. He can't understand why people make such a big deal out of them. Right now, there's something worse than those 12 thugs, the punishment he's currently dealing with. Thanks to Wang Duqiol, he is stuck mopping bathrooms for an entire week. The teacher overseeing his punishment is secretly pleased with this turn of events, glad that this arrogant transfer student is getting a taste of discipline. Meanwhile, Donggu is trying his best to convince Doyle that the 12 Nations are not to be taken lightly. By laying his hands on Yongbom, Doyle has just provoked them, and now Ilgyung High School will be coming for him. Ilgyung is ruthless. They don't sit quietly when the blood of one of their own is spilled. But Doyle isn't impressed. As far as he's concerned, no one is truly ruthless unless they've cut off an arm or a leg. Besides, those guys were the ones who came to him and started the fight. Still, he partially blames Donggu for putting him in this mess in the first place. After all, it was Donggu who wanted these bullies to be taken down. Now this whole situation is really starting to crawl under Doyle's skin. He's fed up with all this nonsense. So fed up, in fact, that he decides to quit altogether. He'd rather get a part-time job and earn some real money instead of dealing with this endless cycle of fights. Donggu is not happy about this decision. He reminds Doyle that he's being paid way more than any part-time job, plus there's even severance pay, which is a sweet cherry on top. But Doyle is unmoved. He tells Donggu to get lost. Left with no choice, Donggu eventually leaves. As he walks down the road, he recalls getting slapped by one of the bullies. At the time, Donggu had simply glared back at the bastard. And when the bully realized that Donggu was now affiliated with Doyle, he had quickly started sweating and tried to reconcile. Now Donggu feels like his short-lived days of happiness have come to an end. He will have to return to the hellish life he's known all these years. He remembers the brief moments of joy, being able to spend time with his friends, doing whatever he wanted. No one was there to boss him around, extort money from him, or beat him unnecessarily. But now, it seems he has no choice but to embrace that hell once again. As he walks, a mysterious dude suddenly appears, slinging an arm around his shoulder as if they're best friends. Donggu has no idea who this guy is, but the stranger clearly knows him. He recognizes Donggu as the rumored friend of Doyle. By now, Donggu knows that things are about to take a very bad turn for him. Later, that same guy drags Donggu to Jongbyom, who immediately begins interrogating him about Doyle's whereabouts. Of course, Donggu insists that he doesn't know anything. His response only pisses Yongbom off. So without a second thought, he delivers a brutal kick straight to Donggu's face, causing his nose to burst with blood and sending his glasses flying. Jongbom only demands that he make a simple phone call and summon that bastard here. Quivering, Donggu quickly dials a number, but instead of Doyle, he dials up the helpline number. The guy in the red jacket notices this and immediately threatens the life out of poor Donggu. Realizing what he's done, they resume beating him mercilessly, pummeling him until he has no choice but to endure it like a faithful, obedient dog. Meanwhile, we cut to Doyle, who is casually attending a job interview at Burger Kim for a part-time position, all while his former employer is getting the beating of his life. The interviewer asks Doyle about his hobbies or any special skills he possesses. While Doyle does not have any experience in part-time jobs, states that he knows close combat and how to throw daggers. However, the interviewer mishears him and asks why he would throw swagger. Doyle bluntly clarifies that he meant throwing daggers. Hearing this, the interviewer is now convinced that Doyle is a nutcase, even though he seemed perfectly normal at first glance. Nevertheless, the interviewer acknowledges that Doyle's skill is certainly an interesting one, but unfortunately, they have no use for someone who can throw daggers. He expresses doubt about whether Doyle would be a good fit for any position in the restaurant. Just then, two jacked guys enter the restaurant. One of them is clutching his belly out of pain. He is sad that the burger he ate from this place caused his stomach to get upset. He even shows a photo of some random burger, claiming it belongs to this restaurant. The picture clearly shows a cockroach inside the burger, which is a clear proof that the food is toxic. Hearing this, the other customers, who had been peacefully enjoying their meals, begin to check their own food to see if the claim is true. But it turns out to be nothing more than a harmless olive. The shop owner tries to calm the raging man down, maintaining his politeness to avoid any unnecessary trouble. However, the man refuses to listen and continues ranting about how the trash burger destroyed his stomach. At that moment, Doyle casually walks past the man, discreetly bumping his shoulder against him. The furious man shoots him a deadly glare, but Doyle remains completely unbothered. Meanwhile, we cut back to the group interrogating Donggu. They check his phone and quickly realize that Donggu doesn't even have Doyle's number, clear proof that they aren't friends. Jungbeom, frustrated by the lack of progress in tracking down Doyle, can't help but to feel annoyed. He had been waiting outside the school's main gate all this time, yet somehow, they failed to notice Doyle. Annoyed, Jungbeom turns his attention back to Donggu. After delivering one final kick, he walks away with his thugs. We then shift to Ilgyung High School's bullies and their leader, Im Jongchan. Standing beside him is his fellow schoolmate, Choi Hyochang. They are talking about the two friends who went to grab some food for everyone from Burger Kim, but they do not seem to have returned. So they decide to check on them now that they are passing by Burger Kim. It is then that, unbeknownst to them, Doyle crosses paths with them, but since they do not recognize Doyle by face, they simply walk past. Once they enter the restaurant, they see their two friends who went to fetch food are now sprawled on the ground after getting beaten up like piñatas. Of course, Jongchan is not thrilled to see his lackeys down for the count. He quickly scans the room to find the guy who could have done this, but unsurprisingly, the culprit does not seem to be here. This is when Jongchan remembers one guy he crossed paths with outside Burger Kim, and his shoulder had stains of blood. So he quickly orders his lackeys to catch that punk who just passed them, the one wearing a Samoon High uniform. To emphasize the urgency, he bellows this order at the top of his lungs. We then cut to Doyle, who is casually walking down the street, thinking about how he has just used up all the money he had for the month. Even if he gets a part-time job, he will not get paid until next month, so he needs someone who can pay him up front. And when it comes to upfront payment, only one guy comes to mind is Donggu, who, as fate would have it, is standing right in front of him. It looks like Donggu had been intentionally walking toward Burger Kim to check on Doyle, and he is relieved to see him safe and sound. Before Doyle can ask about the substantial injuries Donggu has sustained, those bastards arrive on the scene. The fatty introduces himself as Choi Hyochang from Ilgyung and demands that Doyle listen. He continues yelling through his ass-like mouth, ordering our boy to come over. Before things escalate, Doyle wants Donggu to confirm whether the 50,000 won per person offer is still on the table. Of course, this makes Donggu crack a smile, though he makes it clear that there will not be any severance pay. Meanwhile, the fatty bastard grows impatient and annoyed that Doyle is ignoring him. So the bastard lunges at our boy only to get slam-dunked onto the ground. The impact is brutal, and it gets even worse when Doyle relentlessly throws one punch after another straight into the bastard's face. The shitheads who came with that fatty feel the chill of their lives, while my guy remains as cool as a cucumber in a refrigerator. And for this display of action, he also wants Donggu to pay a performance bonus. Later, after taking care of those shitheads, the two of them have some noodles together, where Doyle once again reminds Donggu about the performance bonus. He then boldly demands 5 million won, promising that in return, he will annihilate Ilgyung High within a week. Hearing this, Donggu bursts into laughter as if Doyle just told him the funniest mom joke ever. First of all, Donggu wants to know why he wants so much money in the first place. Doyle reiterates the same story about his father freezing all their bank accounts. And just like before, Donggu still finds it hard to believe. Anyhow, Doyle also wants to ask a question in return. He wants to know why Donggu lives such a miserable life. After all, he hails from a rich family and has everything, so why does he go around getting beat up all the time? Doyle has already dug into Donggu's family, and they are seriously no joke. All Donggu has to do is transfer to some private school that does not have any bullies. Furthermore, why do Donggu's parents feel worried when they see their son all messed up? Well, Donggu reveals that they are both out of the country right now. Eventually, Doyle proceeds to leave after packing up some takeout food. After they exchange goodbyes, Doyle is on his way. This is when he also encounters that same nutcase, Mina. We then cut back to Jongchan, who is staring at the devastating sight of his lackeys, all banged up. Bro is absolutely furious, and he quickly dials the number of Kangwook. Said Kangwook is sitting on the toilet seat when he gets the phone call, which spooks the hell out of him. We then get more insight into one of the 3 worst delinquent schools in Seoul. They control the southwest region of Seoul, and the school is called Ilgyung High. Some students enroll due to financial issues, but most of them have juvenile criminal records, or are just complete nutcases who cannot enroll in regular schools. This is why it is called the worst school ever. It is so bad that students can be seen smoking inside the school. In fact, the school even has a designated smoking area where all the students gather to blow off steam. And as for the teachers, they are completely under the control of the students. They accept bribes and turn a blind eye to all the illegal activities happening within the school grounds. There are even rumors that the principal himself is a former gangster. However, the biggest problem at Ilgyung High is a guy named P. Ji-cheol, one of the members of the 12 Nations. For the longest time, Ilgyung High was fractured into multiple factions, but Ji-cheol united them all through sheer strength. Nowadays, he oversees operations such as bike thefts, insurance fraud, extortion, threats against restaurants, and even more heinous crimes involving murders. We learned all of this as we stood right outside Ilgyung High, because Doyle is about to raid the place. While he's literally armed with a rifle, the ever-goofy Donggu is once again rocking his LG TV donkey mask. More than the flashy mask, Donggu is more concerned about the massive gun Doyle is holding. Doyle assures him that it's only loaded with rubber bullets. After all, human bodies are an expendable resource. The more you preserve them, the better. As they move forward, Donggu once again tries to convince Doyle to reconsider before it's too late. Reports of violence at Ilgyung High are so frequent that if someone were to call the police, they'd just laugh it off. But rather than deter Doyle, this fact actually makes him relieved. It works in his favor. But Doyle's unsettling relief only makes Donggu even more worried. Soon they stumble across two students. Doyle immediately asks if either of them is Jicheol, but instead of giving a simple answer, the bastards start acting aggressive. And as one might expect, Doyle has no patience for unnecessary yapping. Without hesitation, he shoots one of them in the face with a rubber bullet. The other student standing beside his injured friend rushes in to throw a punch, but Doyle effortlessly takes care of him with a well-placed kick. As if that wasn't enough, he then shoots the bastard in the foot, before using the gun itself as a melee weapon, slamming it down on the guy's shoulder, which shatters the collarbone. The poor shithead can do nothing but groan on the ground while Doyle looms over him like a goddamn reaper, demanding that he bring Jicheol here as soon as possible. Meanwhile, we cut to Jang Byum, who is still nursing his sore neck from the hit Doyle had inflicted earlier. Right now he's performing his usual duty, collecting ransom money from students. Suddenly, his red jacket friend comes rushing in, panting heavily as he reports that the bastard from Samoon High is here. Naturally, this piques Jang Byum's curiosity right away, because he was just thinking about him. Elsewhere, Kang Wook can be seen battered and bruised, and is getting grilled by Jong Chan. Before Jong Chan can rough him up further, he receives a phone call from one of his lackeys about a spy roaming their turf with a gun in hand. As usual, Jong Chan yells at the top of his lungs, demanding clarification on who this so-called spy is. Kang Wook, on the other hand, feels utterly hopeless. He has no idea how any of this involves him, or why he's even getting beaten up. Back to Doyle, he continues cutting down every shithead who dares to stand in his way. Eventually, they come across two female students and question them if any one of them happens to be PG Cheol. Unsurprisingly, the girls deny any connection to him. After all, PG Cheol is a guy, not a girl. Doyle, however, blames Donggu for not mentioning this earlier. This is when Doyle finally notices something. Or rather, someone worthwhile. It's of course Jang Byum. Dude finds it somewhat admirable that Doyle had the balls to walk straight into the tiger's den. However, these so-called tigers begin to flinch and recoil in fear when Doyle places his hand over the trigger. But they're in luck because Doyle is already out of bullets. Feeling mocked and humiliated once again, Jang Byum charges at Doyle in a fit of rage, aiming to land a hit. But his aggressive swing amounts to nothing. In that moment, he notices Doyle reaching inside his coat, perhaps to pull out another weapon. But it turned out to be just a distraction. The next thing he knows, he's doubled over in pain, having taken a brutal knee smash right to his gut. Meanwhile, in the annex building of Ilgyung High, a few teachers take notice of the dozens of beaten-up students lying on the ground. One of the newer teachers, visibly horrified, suggests calling the police. But the senior teacher beside her dismisses the idea, since this is just a normal day at Ilgyung High. Even if they reported it, the police wouldn't respond. Not to mention, the principal has given clear instructions to the staff to stay out of student affairs because getting involved only makes things worse. That said, even this veteran teacher admits that today's situation is unprecedented. He's never seen anything like this before. Not since the PG Cheol incident. Adding to the mystery, the school's CCTV cameras are down, and even the phone signals are jammed. Something bizarre is happening, and he has yet to figure out why. We then cut to a jacked-up dude effortlessly bench-pressing 200 kilo, while the group of his lackeys watches in awe. After chugging down a protein shake, he finally acknowledges the lackeys standing in front of him and asks them why they're here. One of them quickly delivers the message from the higher-ups. All executives are to report to the school immediately because a spy has infiltrated their turf. As for this hulking figure, he is Park Jinju. Peering into Jang Byum's past, the young prodigy was once lauded by all of his coaches. He beat up everyone, and was the meanest kid among the crew by defeating 6 guys all at once. One could even say the kid was blessed with God-gifted talent and a fighting ability that impressed just about everyone. He was the definition of talent. Jang Byum grew up to be a menace throughout his middle school life, and every person who ever tried to make themselves an equal to him, they all felt the crushing face of defeat when he humiliated the shit out of them. Jang Byum had a distinct superiority complex and treated those weaker than him like worms. It's as if he was living in a world where he believed only the strongest would dictate the weakest. And he took joy in torturing those that couldn't ever dare to stand up to him. Jang Byum's life had been like that, all the way until he met a monster. Doyle, at his current level, easily dodged his punches and humiliated the fighter with his immense speed. Jang Byum has never been so pissed before, and giving into his anger, he lunges forth for another strike, questioning how his punches are failing him right now. In response, his opponent gives him a reality check in the most embarrassing way possible. Doyle smacks his face with the broom, casually pointing out the difference of reach between theory strikes. Fidgeting back on his feet, the arrogant Jang Byum wipes off his blood, and is in denial of the reality taking place before his very eyes. Frustrated, he goes for yet another strike from below, a sharp hook that his opponent ducks with precision, returning a powerful uppercut that knocks the living daylights out of the bald fucker. Doyle puts him to sleep on the ground. Yongbom's sandal flings away as he trips on his feet. To add on to the humiliation, Doyle comes rushing with a speedy kick. Luckily, Yongbom was able to dodge it, but he still can't fathom how his monstrous opponent appeared so quickly. This guy, a seemingly nobody who no one had even heard of, was casually beating the ever-living crap out of him. Doyle mercilessly went for a full swing of a soccer kick just now, instilling a deep, dark fear in Yongbom's bones. The reason is simple. If that kick had connected with his jaw, it would have straight up killed him. Doyle commends his opponent's speed, confirming that he had just attempted to cripple Yongbom for life. Reminding the bald head of his words, Doyle emphasizes that no amount of pleading will save him from the beating he deserves. Seeing this scene unfold, Donggu is at a loss for words. Doyle thinks he should lessen the punishment, but what good will that do? Because this psychopath is in the mood to break his leg as a merciful retreat. Hearing those words, Yongbom is once again reminded of his past, how he used to mercilessly look down on those weaker than him. In a poetic twist, the situation has flipped, and now he's the victim of his own philosophy. Enraged, he tries to whirl a powerful fist to strike down Doyle, an attack that he meticulously evades. Doyle dodges yet another strike, while the bloodlusted Yongbom continues to punch him. Our boy isn't worried. This is just too easy for him as he casually throws not just one, but a fleet of strikes in his path. Yongbom is utterly destroyed with a final definitive strike from Doyle's wrathful lunge. The sight of his humiliation leaves his lackeys at a loss for words. They are speechless seeing Yongbom getting toyed with, gargling on his own words pathetically on the ground. He stares at Doyle, who looks down on him with the most arrogant look on his face. He goes on to tell Yongbom that this high school is nothing special. Unable to do anything on his own, the bald head turns to his lackeys, roaring at them for standing still. Yongbom gives them an earful and orders each person to take down Doyle, but how could they, seeing as they witnessed one of the most brutal takedowns before their very own eyes? Sometime later, his senior Jongchan is annoyed walking through the school hall. The dean of the school tries to intervene and stop them from walking in as if they own the damn place. But these guys don't give a singular fuck about him and merely turn away from his direction, deeming him unworthy of their attention. The dean calls them out for ignoring him, even going as far as to shout insults against the invading delinquents. Jongchan was already pissed, and he's done playing around. He goes up to the old man, sticking out his wrist from his pocket as if he's about to pull something out. In a sudden motion, this man goes on to stab the dean with the full force of his weapon, causing the other students to freeze in terror. Jongchan intently reminds the dean that he won't get what he wants merely because he's a damn teacher. Now humbled and no longer in the mood to challenge them, the dean drops to the floor, blood trickling down his body. Jongchan spits at the man before turning his attention back to the clowns who are declining his call. He hands the weapon to one of his men, ordering him to take the blame for stabbing the dean. He's so ruthless that he's ready to sacrifice one of his own for his personal actions. Jongchan orders the guy to retrieve every person's phone and head to the police station to turn themselves in. This will lead to nearly 3 years' worth of imprisonment, but Jongchan doesn't care because he won't have to deal with the sentence. It'll just be one of his disposable lackeys. The ruthless delinquent walks away from the scene, and the perspective shifts back to Doyle's side of things, who has finished crippling the shit out of Yongbom. Seeing the bald head laugh while being struck with so much pain, Doyle wonders if he should increase the torture. To that, Yongbom laughs, reminding just how badly Doyle fucked up by challenging their boss. Of course, the rest of Yongbom's lackeys even confirm that the only outcome left for Doyle is imminent death, as he has struck the hornet's nest with nowhere to run. To that, he literally acts like it's just a regular Tuesday for him, and goes on to ask about PG Cheol as their main leader. From out of nowhere, a kick comes flying in Doyle's face. The blow connects as Donggu cries for his friend. The one who struck him is actually Jinju, who is ranked 3rd among the gang. Donggu comprehends the sheer force of the blow, realizing that an attack like that must have done a number on someone like Doyle. Luckily, it is revealed that our boy is fast as shit as his reflexes prevented him from getting hit in the head. Not caring about a single thing, Doyle amuses if the man facing him is PG Cheol. Jinju, being the musclehead egomaniac he is, idiotically confirms that he is in fact Ji Cheol. Of course, even Donggu knows that's just a stupid lie. The scene flips to Busan, where a bunch of bodies are hanging after senselessly torture. Among them is a rank 4 boss, Daeochan. The bastard who is responsible for having these men laid out like a bunch of mannequins comes to learn of Kim Doyle's identity, implying that shit is about to get even more real. Okay, let's get back into the fight between Jinju and LeBron James. The musclehead is surprised to find his opponent spraying at him with some water. He goes for a wide punch, thinking an attack like that will connect with Barry Allen over here. Doyle humiliates the shit out of him by slapping a piece of cloth like a freaking slingshot. That bitch slap leaves a mark too. Once again, the rest of the lackeys are just straight up confused. They don't even know what's going on anymore, as Doyle is beating the crap out of the bosses with a windwashing set. He's an overwhelming muscle behemoth who shares records in competitive lifting. Jinju lunges forth to strike him again. Doyle casually evades the strike, which leaves a mark in the wall. Then he dodges Jinju's kick, frustrating him as the battle rages on. What Jinju is really angry about is his opponent's wind-like reflexes, as he's avoiding him like a mosquito. Jinju thinks that Doyle's endurance has to be shit, so only one attack should be enough to knock him down. But to his shock, Doyle fips the cloth and wraps it around his opponent's wrist, before delivering a beautiful sharp knee to his face. Jinju staggers, realizing that his opponent is fighting dirty, making use of everything in his arsenal to get the upper hand. He tries to squeeze Doyle, but that fails too. They enter a funny moment of silence before Doyle shames this clown with his spray gun again. Serving as the perfect distraction, our boy reaps this man's soul with a jaw-crushing punch, swiping Jinju right off of his feet. With every hit, the musclehead is losing his cool. He no longer wants to fall victim to petty tricks. But just like the rest, he gets too overconfident and overextends. Doyle uses his jacket as a decoy, blinding his opponent's vision, before excellently throwing an extended sidekick to his face. And let me tell, if someone humiliated me like that, I'd assist Elon Musk on his mission to get to Mars and evade our planet forever. The attack knocks Jinju down for good. In his brawny little pathetic state, he hurls insults at the tiny specimen who is making a mockery of him with every attack. But Doyle, this man simply does not care. He comes up and whacks Jinju's body right where it hurts the most. The brutal beatdown continues as the sound of hits connecting against Jinju's body echo throughout the hall. This fight is over. Doyle casually slayed a muscle behemoth and mogs us with his side profile, acting like he just cleared the gang. Of course, the poor guy doesn't know he beat an imposter and not the real leader of the gang. He's got more work to do. Interestingly, the lower-level delinquents have no idea what GKL looks like, so they also think he must have taken down their leader. Red Jacket over here knows the difference, though, and he's shocked that Doyle was able to demonstrate such a monstrous ability to ruin one of their strongest fighters. Doyle turns to Donggu, demanding his special fee this time. My Little Pony over here has to remind him that he didn't take down the boss yet. Doyle argues otherwise and thinks that Donggu is messing around. As they're walking away, Red Jacket is nerve-struck with the fear of what he witnessed. Let's go a few hours ahead and see Youngchan's reactions to the situation. I'm sure you guys must be dying to see that after all. This psychopathic blonde has a mental breakdown seeing two of their top fighters laid out like that. The next day at the school, the students come to learn about their dean's recent stabbing incident. Youngchan was responsible for it and caused a scene. Hearing this conversation attentively, Doyle munches on his food and realizes that Youngchan wouldn't have acted so fiercely if he took down the real Jicheol. This convinces him that he must have taken down the fake one instead. On another note, Donggu is surprised that Doyle is casually having lunch in the classroom instead of the cafeteria. Their little quarrel shifts into a different topic, with Donggu blaming himself for the harm caused to their school's dean. After all, he's the one who caused a fight with the Ilgyung gang using Doyle's strength. In any case, the students feel the need to visit the dean and check on his condition. Donggu is guilty of his actions, but he wants Doyle to come. This man couldn't care less about the school's principal, but Donggu is a wimp and doesn't want to go alone. Bringing her curvaceous body as a bargaining chip to convince Doyle, Mina gears up to join them. Donggu questions why she's strolling around the anime club with a bunch of losers with an outfit like that. Turns out she's just here for Doyle. This chick is unholy levels of down bad for our boy and she just can't help herself. That's why she applied for the anime club. Funnily enough, Doyle straight up pulls a gun to her head. This man knows she's for the streets. But she's even freaky as hell and takes it as some kind of kink coming from him. The gun is actually real and Doyle is more than happy to let his classmates inspect the weapon as long as they're paying him good for it. Even Donggu is done with the ridiculousness of this manhwa and breaks the fourth wall just to share our shock. Fast forwarding to the scene of the hospital, the dean is told to rest for a while. Luckily, his injury wasn't that deep. Being the responsible headmaster, he just can't allow himself to rest when there's much to take care of at his school. He wants them to know that he'll return back to the school in 1 week. Hearing that, his wife reminds him that he shouldn't just walk his injuries off, because he clearly needs help. By the way, Donggu ended up coming with Mina to check on the principal. Unfortunately, the baddie only cares about Doyle, who didn't even end up joining them and jumped from the 3rd fucking floor like he's Tom Cruise or something. Mina feeds into her rage, stating that the hospital isn't worth it if the transfer student isn't here. Yeah, I am convinced this girl is 69 red flags in one person. Even Donggu thinks she's being ridiculous. He tells her to head home if she's here to goof around, but Mina has the gall to call him annoying for it. Donggu clutches the door handle when he hears the dean speaking to his wife. They talk of their hearty marriage spanning 2 decades, which means she knows if he's in pain. As for our boy, he ended up deciding to come along, reflecting an encounter he shared with the dean. It was the time where he got in trouble and received a punishment. But when the dean realized that Doyle lived only with his mother and sister, he understood that the boy was the only man in his house. He let off the kid with his phone number, promising to help him in the time of need. It was that gesture that struck out to Doyle, because the dean wanted him to be normal and share an enthusiastic and energetic life in his young years. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really enjoying the way the story is handling the principal's character here. It's heartwarming. And here we are now. Doyle is in the hospital, though he's a bit bothered and wants to leave early. When he draws near the dean's room, he spots both Donggu and Mina waiting patiently. Inside, the dean is weeping like a child in pain. Since he's an adult, he naturally feels embarrassed for being so vulnerable and weak right now. His wife comforts him, while the dean goes on to state that he can't risk being embarrassed or showing a weak side of himself in front of his students. The sight of Yongchan just hurling those insulting words at him, while he was powerless to stop the thug, haunted him. Donggu, Mina, and Doyle are hearing this conversation with their fullest attention. This man was doing so much for the students, and all he got in return was a wound for it. The dean considers himself a failure, bawling his eyes out and hiding his face. The heartfelt moments end there, and the scene transitions into a horrifying sequence. Jikyol, the real one, is pissed that one little troublemaker was able to cause so much trouble. Before him, Yongchan trembles before him like a puppy, completely acknowledging that he deserves death for his failures. He just wants another chance to fix his wrongdoings. But Jikyol is done. He doesn't think Yongchan is serious about his word, because if he was, then he would have dragged Doyle's body here already. And now, it's time for a gruesome punishment. Yongchan roars that he's ready to take any punishment, whatever his boss demands of him. Those words are music to Jikyol's ears, who tasks him with the impossible work of scoring 10 million a week. Yongchan is so terrified that he doesn't even comprehend the ridiculous task. He just accepts it like a direct order. As for Kim Doyle, who is being a thorn in their ways, Jikyol wants Yongchan to make up for his mistake and bring him over. In the final shot, we get to see the face of the Ilgyung High boss, Jikyol. At the gaming arcade, Doyle is banging out the shots like he's a professional. Mina is practically squirming seeing him do anything, while Donggu tells him his backstory of how he earned the title of dumbass from just about anyone who bullied him. Though it came to a point that Donggu just accepted things for the way they were, and believed that he was nothing more than a clown. Doyle is killing it while Mina is fangirling over him. Donggu's little rant ends up getting ignored by the both of them. Mina is treating like a date, but Doyle simply tells her to get lost as well. This man is not letting her have a piece of him. Recalling the dean's words, Donggu reminds them of how ridiculous it is to relax at a sensitive moment like this. He is reminded of the time he recruited Doyle to do his bidding, though it amounts to little now, seeing as he's just as much of a brute as the rest. Donggu checks out of the group, realizing that asking for Doyle's help is pointless since he's just going to charge him for the slightest of things. But right as he's about to leave, our boy stops him, making him have the faintest hope that maybe this guy actually cares. In absolute hilariousness, the only thing Doyle points out is how he's snatching his lunchbox. Donggu throws a lousy temper tantrum, reminding Doyle that he's the one who paid for it. The scene ends there, and we transition back to the gang members active on the lookout for Doyle's apartment. Unfortunately, they can't seem to track him down no matter how hard they try. Unfortunately, no one knows about his exact address, making it tricky for Gangyuk to search for him. The poor guy is pitying his fate for always being handed the worst jobs right when he's got nothing to do with them. The fat bastard whirls a powerful fist in his stomach, launching him to the ground with a thud. The rain continues, and so does the beating. Fatty over here wants Gangyuk to hit up Doyle's friends to get a lead on his location. He continues to bash Gangyuk's head for being useless as a mutt. It's at this point that Gangyuk enters a state of contemplating, questioning what he did that was so wrong to deserve such a beatdown. Witnessing the scene unfold, the people around them stand in shock. Zhongchan walks right past them, his underlings telling the crowd to buzz off and continue their walk. Gangyuk is given a heavy ultimatum. If he doesn't retrieve Doyle to this exact location in 60 minutes, then he won't be returning home in one piece. And yes, the One Piece is real, rejoice fans. Gangyuk questions the unfair reality put before him, his thoughts lingering, his eyes watering with tears. The people spectating aren't even doing anything to intervene. Not a single one is calling the police to help save his life. Among those people is Donggu, who is terrified to make eye contact with Gangyuk. The moment he locks eyes with Donggu, he stutters and calls his name, declaring the poor guy as Doyle's subordinate slave. You can just see Donggu's face getting destroyed knowing what's about to happen. And the worst does end up happening as the gang members beat the crap out of Donggu shortly afterwards. And yet being loyal to his friend, he refused to rat out Doyle's location. Zhongchan is disgusted by the sight of weaklings putting up so much resistance before him. Wide-eyed and serious, Yongchan gives Donggu a good reminder of where they come from. With a blade in his hand, he attempts to intimidate the kid by reminding him of what he did to their dean. All of a sudden, the memory of their beloved dean weeping his eyes out comes flashing through his head. Zhongchan tells him that they only mean business with Doyle, as long as he can call him. They're good. Apart from that, it's not like the innocent victim can do anything to save his life in this situation. Put in a position of helplessness, Donggu's memories go back to the time he was insulted by his father for being weak just like his mother. Those same words are now reverberated via Zhongchan, who promises to spare him as long as he calls over Doyle. Finally opening his mouth to speak, Donggu declares that he's not an idiot, his words baffling the sub-leader of the gang. Donggu repeats himself, revealing that it's Zhongchan's group who are the true clowns in this situation. Hearing him say something so provocative, Gangyuk loses his mind. Even more, Yongchan goes for the most sinister laugh, as if it's the funniest joke he has heard all day. To make his point clear, he slashes Donggu across his nose, leaving a sharp cut that brings him so much agony, he screams in pain. A moment afterwards, Jongchan grabs his face, coldly reminding the kid of his position in this conflict. He thinks of him as nothing more than a piece of garbage that needs to be flattened to the ground. Raising his hand in response, Donggu musters the spirit to be courageous for once, to stop his meekness from getting the better of him. He grabs Jongchan's arm, fueled by the anger and frustration of all the haunted beatings he went through in his school. Jongchan is starting to wonder if this guy has gone deaf or perhaps doesn't understand Korean. To make sure he remembers the difference between the two of them, Jongchan slams Donggu with a powerful punch, knocking him down. More time passes, though at this point, Ganghyuk is wondering where Donggu's sudden bravado is coming from. After all, his continued resistance will only bring about more suffering, and yet he's unrelenting when it comes to sharing information about his friend. Jongchan ends up getting exhausted from the beatdown he's given to Donggu. Now that he's knocked out, they can't do anything to him. He doesn't care if they have to rip his mouth open when he wakes up. All he wants is information about Doyle. Intriguingly enough, it seems like Donggu is still alive and conscious. This guy probably has a death wish or something because he definitely chose the wrong day to be brave. Addressing the ruthless gang boss, he calls Jongchan a bastard, reminded of all the pain they brought to his school. He deems them the wrongdoers, and questions why it has to be the weaker people who have to be called idiots instead. The real perpetrators made a mess. They deserve punishment for it, not them. Ganghyuk is out here pinching his face, knowing that this kid is about to get slaughtered if he keeps yapping any longer. He continues, stating that their lives would be perfect if the gang never existed to bring them turmoil. Pointing to Jongchan, he deems him the root of every mess, roaring that everyone in this messed up gang is an idiot. His loud admission is acknowledged by Jongchan, who turns back with his blade out, pointing out Donggu's audacity for saying so much in the situation he's in. Bursting with full speed, he draws his weapon and pins Donggu's face down, wondering if taking out Donggu's eyes would be enough to teach him a lesson. Ganghyuk knows there's no coming back from this, while Jongchan mercilessly lunges forth to slash his eye. His attack comes to a sudden halt when Jongchan sees a shocking face pop up out of nowhere. Remember the gun that Doyle was proudly showing off? Turns out that it was just a fake gun that Donggu had brought him with a warning message inside. The point is, this man literally tried shooting Jongchan down without hesitation. The main man is here, and Fatty recognizes him immediately, while Jongchan is in a bloodlusted state like a predator ready to devour his prey. Doyle addresses Donggu and realizes why he switched their phones. Unfortunately, his phone screen ended up fully cracked, and Doyle identifies the freak show Jongchan as the culprit. He also sees his delicious lunchbox annihilated on the ground. Doyle identifies this situation as a critical one, not because his friend was about to get his eye poked the shit out of him, but because he lost his precious lunchbox. Thrilled to finally come face to face with the annoying pest who gave them so much trouble, Jongchan yaps and fails to notice Doyle blitzing him with full speed. He's so freaking fast that his punches feel like they just vaporized parts of Jongchan's body. Doyle treats the situation calmly, only caring about exacting his revenge for the lunchbox. The story goes off on a side tangent about the Sillimdong Golden Karaoke Bar incident. The culprits were a group of thugs ruling over the Sillimdong territory, a gang called Hot-Blooded Men. Now these guys were a newly established gang that took their powers to rise using girls to lobby police officers. Thanks to that, they never got in trouble, because the police were always hesitant in intervening against them. Shortly after, this group was annihilated to the ground at the hands of someone ruthless. Their leader, Lee Ho-cheol, was enjoying a birthday party when it happened. The event featured the main 21 members of the group to celebrate the joyous occasion. But then, one intruder walked in. Every single one of the members ended up getting destroyed at the hands of one guy, having endured life-threatening injuries. And the one responsible was just one psychopathic 13-year-old boy. A boy with extreme arrogance and disgust in his eyes. That boy was Jongchan himself. At the time, it was impossible to believe that a mere 13-year-old could defeat so many gang members that not even the police could get their hands on. 21 people smashed at the hands of one person. Shortly afterwards, the rumors of his cruel strength were spread across Seoul, and every person who knew about him popularized a nickname befitting his ruthlessness: the demon, Im Jongchan. And that same Jongchan is currently so terrified that he looks powerless at the moment. He's receiving a one-sided beatdown, unable to combat his opponent, looking like a lifeless cripple. He thinks Doyle must have drugged him or something after all. He just can't envision himself being defeated at the hands of some nobody like Doyle. Aiming for a sharp stab, Jongchan's attack misses with Doyle effortlessly dodging. Flicking the blade back in an effort to catch him off guard, Jongchan goes for a wide swing. But even that is effortlessly evaded, causing Jongchan further distress. He tries countless times, but Doyle is looking at him with a resting bitch face that screams, "You done yet, kid?" Doyle delivers a soul-shattering uppercut to this bastard's jaw, an attack that Jongchan could see coming and yet he still couldn't dodge. Maintaining his stand, Jongchan refuses to be put down. He wipes off his blood, his expression looking sickly and ghost-like. All he cares about is what Doyle did to him, a whiny loser who thinks he couldn't be bested otherwise in a fair fight. Doyle's previous attacks ended up doing a number on his ribs, causing Jong-chan to wail in agony as he grips his sides. Doyle thinks of him as nothing more than a whiny bitch who just can't seem to shut up. Handing him the same exact treatment that he gave to others, Doyle blankly states that it's not his fault that Jong-chan is pathetically weak. It's a simple fact that his opponent can't accept. And there is a reason for that. It's because Jong-chan has never received enough beating in his life to be so humble. Which is why Doyle is here to teach him a lesson, like a strict teacher about to discipline his student. Jong-chan's expression turns to terror, though he stupidly dashes in to attack anyway. Doyle casually dodges his punch with his signature speed, forcing Jong-chan to go for a kick. Doyle ducks to his right and evades the attack. In response, he counters with a single left hook that his opponent can clearly see coming from a mile away. And yet for some reason, he still can't avoid it as Doyle knocks him back like a punching bag eating extreme recoil. The blonde is questioning his existence. He compares the situation to being aimed at with a gun. Even though Jong-chan knows the bullet is about to fire, he can't react to its incredible speed. Doyle bashes him with more and more of his godlike speed, doing a number on Jong-chan right until he staggers to maintain his footing. Pausing for a moment, Doyle impressively remarks that he is clearly facing someone stronger than the average person, as Jong-chan has been doing a good job of eating his punches so far. That may be true, but Jong-chan's condition is all you need to know about his situation. He's like an injured dog that needs to be put down to stop his suffering. Of course, it's a good thing for Doyle, who is enjoying the experience. Gangyuk is baffled to the core, gripping his head in shock because this fight is practically happening over a damn lunchbox. Even Donggu is speechless. Gesturing him, Doyle tells Jong-chan to draw near, asking him what part of his body he should break, as he'll take Jong-chan's words into consideration. Seeing him stand there in silence, Doyle's eyes sharpen with a gaze so terrifying that it makes Jong-chan quiver before him. He is forced to avert his eyes, unable to meet his ferocious opponent to the face. Since he's not making a choice, Doyle decides that it's time to take matters into his own hands, and figures it would be fun shattering Jong-chan's jaw. It's the same situation as last time. The bullet is about to be fired, and there is nothing Jong-chan can do to stop it from firing. Doyle's godlike fist connects, the sensation coursing through as if he just vaporized Jong-chan's head off his shoulders. The delinquent cries in pain, screaming on his knees. Despite being as ruthless as he is, he had yet to meet a person as terrifying as Doyle. The moment he met his gaze, he could sense a creature far more cunning in Doyle's shadow. It's as if he's not even a human opponent, a living embodiment of fight perfection. His yapping goes shut with Doyle slamming a kick in his jaw, shattering the rest of his jawbone. The fight, or rather the one-sided massacre, continues with Doyle beating the crap out of the unconscious Jong-chan. At the hospital, the dean is enjoying his coffee with his wife, while the culprit responsible for stabbing him is getting the sonic rings beat out of him. By the time Doyle is finished, he's panting in exhaustion. With their top dog defeated, the fatty gets his panties in a twist, unable to do anything before Doyle's gaze. The scene cuts to the Tiger Crew gang's hideout. Here, a ton of bodies lay defeated, with one man enjoying his noodles. GKL ended up meeting the leader of the Tiger Crew in person, and because he didn't like the way the negotiations turned out, he decided to cut their precious tendons for his amusement. Knowing that these guys were ready to cross him at any moment, he tortures their leader by poking his flesh with his chopsticks. GKL offers them 2 days to wrap up Busan's shit show and then merge with his gang. Seeing as he doesn't have any choice, their leader nods in agreement. GKL stares him down, demanding his conviction. He's satisfied with the answer he received, so this freak show leaves with an ugly glare in his face. As he's leaving, Ilgyung-hae's chief of operations, Hyuk Cheol, tells his boss that he's been getting a lot of calls. Taking the phone, GKL is startled when he hears a different voice on the other line. It's Doyle, and he means business. Right as GKL opens the door, all he sees is a man standing before him with a phone next to his ear. Doyle pulled up to their turf. After all, they were seeking him in high demand. Also, he took the time to obliterate each one of GKL's men while he was at it. Adopting a nightmarish smile, GKL finds himself more amused than ever. Sharing a meeting with the head principal of the school, one of the teachers questions if it's really a good idea to let this incident slide. After all, this incident involved an outsider who assaulted multiple people. It's an incident that should be making the news for the safety of the children. In response, the selfish principal argues that it's the parents' fault for sending their children to a place like their school in the first place. The Ilgyung school is unlike a normal school. It's the one place where parents send their children because they've abandoned all hope for them. Even if they ended up having their lives fixed, it wouldn't amount to a difference. Nobody even cares about the value of Ilgyung-hae, and to avoid any further problems, the head principal doesn't want to make a bigger mess out of it. This wimpy coward thinks that bystanders shouldn't get involved needlessly, as something more sinister is brewing behind the scenes. And let's go back to our boy, who is beating the crap out of the chief of operations. Hyuk tanks the heavy fall, rolling back and returning to check on his opponent. He could tell that Doyle just used a judo move. The fighter makes his descent and stands before Hyuk, who can't place a finger on what's this guy's deal. It's the same situation that occurred with Jong-chan. They can see his attacks coming, but they just don't possess the reflexes to avoid them. Now Hyukcheol is a sensible fighter, and he clearly understands that he can't win in a direct competition. However, the moment he grabs a hold of Doyle's body, it's game over for the fight. Rushing into his emotions, Hyukcheol tries to do just that. His giant hand misses Doyle, so he uses his other arm to sling forth and grab him. Once more, Doyle goes for a retreat, easily dodging and then surprising his opponent with a sudden duck. Doyle slams his face and abdomen with both of his kicks, sending him back. To make sure he stays down for good, he delivers a merciless punch to Hyukcheol's face, staring him down without a shred of interest. A few moments earlier, he had carried Donggu's flailing body, who realized that the scar he received on his nose would stay for a while. And of course, he will be reminded of the scar every time he looks in the mirror. Doyle deems him annoying for asking such basic questions. But Donggu, he's conflicted. He's been a part of so many beatdowns without being able to do anything in return. He thinks it is unfair that he has to be left with scars across his body. Returning to the scene of the fight, Hyukcheol is busy collecting himself while Doyle slams his jaw with an upward knee kick. Facing such a cruel beatdown, Hyukcheol fails to comprehend what's going up in Doyle's mind, as he's not pulling the stops of any of his attacks. Each time he attacks, it feels as if he's aiming to kill his papanet. Hyukcheol has his own backstory lore drop. He was always lauded as a special person with a unique talent. At the time, Jicheol offered him a hand to become his right-hand man. Hyukcheol was deemed special by their leader, a man that couldn't be looked down upon until he met Doyle. So he goes for a last-ditch effort to jab his opponent. Being light on his feet as always, our boy dodges, fueling him with more frustration than ever. A few more attacks follow through with Hyukcheol being the aggressor, doing whatever he can to psyche out his opponent, adding in feints to confuse him. His plan involves grabbing Doyle in a pinch, and right as he does that, only certain death is in store for Doyle with a slam to the ground. Or at least, that is what his delusional mind thinks will happen, because Doyle casually stops the throw by locking his weight in place. The special move that Hyukcheol tried so hard to pull off failed spectacularly with a weight-shifting technique, allowing Doyle to maintain his ground. This technique is only known to professionals, causing Hyukcheol even greater shock. And now, to deliver a beautiful suplex of his own, Doyle slams his back into the ground, causing him a whirlwind of stinging pain. This guy bested him at his own game, annihilating Hyukcheol's technique. Even though there's a complete difference in weight, Doyle's mere existence defies reality. Regaining some of his consciousness and recovering from the attack, Hyukcheol sees a powerful kick flying his way. Back to Donggu's words, he followed up with promising Doyle as much money as he could ever ask for, so long as he could consider him his friend. Our boy tosses Hyukcheol's body away like a balloon, his face expressionless when he hears Donggu's sincere request. Even now, as he towers over Hyukcheol's body, he is reminded of the moment he shared with Donggu. Doyle gets in trouble with a bunch of policemen seizing him on the spot. Remember the beatdown he gave to the other guys? Yeah. Well, one of them ended up calling the police. They want to arrest him, when suddenly, one of the policemen gets their face bashed with a brick. It's Jicheol, and this guy is a fucking menace for assaulting an officer. The other guy tries to arrest this psychopath, but he quickly dismantles him like a force of nature. With both of them down for good, Jicheol collects himself, glancing at Doyle with excitement. Having achieved everything he ever wanted through violence, the gang leader believes it is the most convenient way of life. He just can't have other people stopping him when all he wants to do is have some fun. The leader of the gang even offers to become friends with Doyle, arguing that he could help cultivate our boy's ability for the better. What's more, the gang will enjoy their full support. The reason he mentioned the boss of Japan's Yakuza Okita group is because violence easily exploits money. He extends his offer to Doyle, who cares little about entertaining him, and unleashes his full speed from the get-go. His fist vaporizes Jicheol's face with a single strike. Doyle drops a bombshell. He's the one who killed the Yakuza boss with his own hands. This guy's fucking unstoppable at this rate. Circling back to the conversation regarding the head principal, he recalls sharing a drink with one of the congressmen. The head principal believes one of the students in their school is responsible for stealing critical information from the top business clubs. As for the fight, you'd be surprised to find this out, but Jicheol actually blocked Doyle's attack in time. Carving a smile across his face, the leader of the gang realizes that Doyle doesn't want to entertain the offer. Doyle cusses him out for being an annoying parrot who keeps ranting the same thing to someone who isn't really a high school student. Like the usual, we get a lore drop that I'm expecting to be more psychopathic than anything we've seen so far. A young Jicheol came to an understanding that murderers aren't bad for killing, as death was just a part of life. One of the most famous killers of all time, Albert Bundy, argued that he merely shifted his victim's time of death. Albert Bundy was responsible for murdering 30 women. This bastard Jicheol, however, poured boiling water on an infant. Jicheol was basically an emo who took things too far at a young age, and instead of making it a phase, he made it his entire life. He thought murdering others was really cool, which perfectly describes his craziness. When he was probed for information for why he attempted to kill his brother, Jicheol responded that he was annoyed by Jiho's senseless whining. Despite warning the baby many times, the kid refused to listen to him. Hence he was the one who was wrong, and suffered for it. Now, Jicheol's situation was quite similar to the famous serial killer. He was punished for his crimes, and inevitably had to pay the consequences of his actions. However, many people in the world operated freely without having to endure consequences. For example, Sakatsu Bushino, an attack leader of Okita's group, the same man who was suspected of murdering 7 members of an enemy organization. In every trial, he was never found guilty. The young Jicheol carefully observed how many political figures didn't receive the punishment he did. It was then that he made it his life's goal to acquire as much wealth and power as he possibly could, so that he could become immune to the consequences of suffering a punishment, so that he could determine the time of death for others, so that he could play God. Having matured, he returned to have a conversation with his infant brother, who had half of his face completely ruined thanks to his older brother's assault. Jicheol reveals the real reason he tried killing his baby brother. It was because he did not want another version of him to exist out there. After all, it only made sense to him for one God to exist in this world. Now, standing before Doyle, the leader of the gang channels his philosophy. But Doyle doesn't care and goes for a sharp kick, which his opponent actually dodges. He goes on to catch each of Doyle's strikes. Though Jicheol didn't escape the encounter completely unscathed, not at all. In fact, he received a wound to his head. Jicheol is confused how his opponent can move even faster than him, a fact that Doyle makes clear. Also, he makes it clear to the bastard that he is just messing around, but now he's starting to wonder if Jicheol is beyond an ordinary person. To that, the boss admits that he's surpassed the likes of many people in his life. He's the one who wiped the floor with Yongbyom and left a trail of blood in his every walk. And yet it's his first time meeting someone like Doyle. Finding him an intriguing figure, Jicheol lunges at him full speed, delivering a similar iconic strike to Doyle's punches. Doyle is actually impressed that Jicheol managed to copy his attack. Not that it matters, because our boy knocks him flying with yet another blow. Jicheol stammers for a moment, more blood trickling down his face, but he shows no signs of defeat. He tries to swipe Doyle down, an attack that is easily dodged. But then the next move? It even causes Doyle some trouble to evade, as his opponent is going heavy on overpowering him with every advance. Jicheol ends up eating a punch to the face, but he lets it slip through, gaining the upper hand in their movement. Jicheol tries to knee him in the face. Doyle ducks and analyzes the situation of the fight. The more this battle continues, his opponents become amplified over time, making Jicheol a terrifying opponent to face. The gang leader chucks a powerful swing, rivaling Doyle's speed, who is already extremely fast. Doyle thinks that it's remarkable to find a special talent like this guy lingering in a high school in Korea. Jicheol goes on the aggressive again, ramping up his speed as if he was getting a constant boost. Still, his attack patterns are easy to counter, so Doyle is managing to evade each of his strikes. He knows that Jicheol has been preparing a real punch underneath the jabs he threw, but he calls it a shallow approach. Jicheol tries to shock Doyle with a left hook, surprising him greatly as the attack connects, slamming Doyle back. This gives Jicheol the confidence to declare that he's simply an unstoppable being who is destined to rise above everyone. Okay, I have to say this story loves to throw jump scares. Because of that attack just now, it seems like Doyle caught it, and he goes on to insult Jicheol's annoying bickering. Our boy humbles the bastard, mentioning that while he may not be ordinary, he's still nothing more than a domestic dog with his own limitations. Hearing his infuriating words, Jicheol's body erupts with fierce rage, and in an instant, he experiences a sharp sensation coursing through the right side of his face. He can't comprehend what could have possibly happened, even though he didn't even sense his opponent move. To him, Doyle looks like an avatar, a representation of death, a terrifying being who has come to remind Jicheol of his fickleness. Drowning in the void, Jicheol realizes that he is meeting the same punishment as every killer is destined to meet. His body is obliterated with each of Doyle's attacks. While this is happening, Jungsuk, who is ranked second in the Nampo Urim gang, arrives to see what's going on as he hasn't heard a thing from Jicheol. He remarks that getting involved with someone like Seokdong is destined to lead people to a disaster. To their horror and astonishment, they discover the bodies of the policemen on the ground. And just beyond, Doyle towers over their boss, whose body has been crippled beyond repair. Jungsuk is at a loss for words, unable to comprehend the scene before him, while Doyle casually glares at him with his cold eyes. Among the 11 nations, Nampo Urim's leader Ju Hyung is astonished by the scene. Jungsuk is horrified to see the remnants of the Tiger Crew gang, and now, seeing Jicheol's state, it's safe to assume he endured permanent damage. Their leader Hyung was the one who intervened and stopped him. He's the one who reduced Jicheol into a pathetic slime, but Jungsuk is curious if letting the guy roam free was a good move. Being sensible, Hyung argues that they shouldn't rush into things without a plan. The scene cuts to the police station, where Park Chung-sik, a corrupt police officer, is being threatened of his information being hacked by a random app. They know about all the terrible crimes he let go off for the bribes he received, and each of them has evidence attached too. The person threatening him wants to investigate a list, or else Chung-sik's life will be ruined for good. Now back to Hyung, he remarks that Doyle isn't something to take lightly from what he saw. It's clear that they'll end up running into him anyway if he keeps messing around with gangs. On a lighthearted note, Mina is celebrating the day having made Doyle as their king and leader. Reports of him conquering Southern Seoul make the news, Anyone who commits a crime will be hunted by him. No longer will any thugs have a chance to bully any person in Samoon. Mina thinks they're being redundant for handing out flyers in the age of social media, but when you really think about it, who's going to check the socials of a bunch of nerds in the anime club? The bullies are whining having lost their jobs, which is hilarious if you think about it. Doyle can't be bothered and plugs his ears shut. On their way back, Donggu expresses that he added bonus money in Doyle's locker. Ever since his arrival, the students of the school have lived in peace. It's finally happening. The high school will no longer be a battleground. He would never have anticipated Doyle to end up annihilating the entirety of the Ilgyung High gang. Bro even sent a photo of Jikhail all laid out on the ground. Donggu wonders if he photoshopped the image, but Doyle argues that it would have made the job way simpler and easier if he did do that. Donggu is so happy admiring the Doyle's powers, and promises to no longer be a nuisance to his sight. He wants to learn how to fight from the best, a request that Doyle meets with a confused look on his face. Even though they've taken care of the Ilgyung gang, there's still a bunch of others to defeat. Among them is Seokdong of the Seokdong High. Their rank 5 delinquent is casually enjoying a chat, amusing the talks of a kid going around and defeating the 12 nations on his own. Knowing the monstrous strength of Jicheol, they don't want to believe that one kid managed to beat him with ease. Torturing Donghyuk, they ask for his opinion and slam him down. Seokhyuk isn't letting him off easy, and orders the kid to retrieve the ball. Donghyuk collects himself and quickly grabs the ball, returning it back to the delinquent. He's told to return to his shameful spot, made to shame him for being a dumbass. The delinquents continue to make fun of him, berating him for being a retard born out of his family. The boy goes silent, causing Seokhyuk to get angry. He still doesn't respond, so the fatty chucks the baseball right in his face. Donghyuk is defenseless and he manages to duck, but the ball goes on to reach Doyle, who catches it with ease. They weren't expecting to run into such an encounter. Now, the real crime is Doyle losing a piece of his pork to stop the ball. The delinquents question their identities, but instead of words, our boy replies with his fists, knocking the teeth out of this fatty's mouth. The only chick of the group calls Doyle crazy, while he hands his lunchbox to Donggu. All of a sudden the same chick finds him attractive. This man is getting all the hose wet wherever he goes. Seokhyuk's underlings leap forward to deal with the handsome guy, questioning if the Samoon high school student has gone crazy for waging war against them. In response, Doyle takes out his gun, points it at the baldy's head, and pulls the trigger, knocking him down. The scumbags can't believe what just happened. They can't fathom how he used an actual gun against someone in Korea. Blonde gets swept off his feet with a single kick, and then Doyle locks his head in his elbow, planting his face into the wall. To further humiliate the clown, he shoots each of the rubber bullets against this guy's ass, giving him the most humiliating beatdown of the century. I would just move countries after that, not gonna lie. Doyle continues his stroll, facing 2 more NPC-looking characters, declaring that he's ready to take them all on at the same time for being annoying. You can only expect what happened afterwards. Anyway, by the time he's done, the chick from their school is having her panties in a twist. Seokhyuk has the balls to stand up against him despite his broken teeth. He questions if he's an assassin from Ilgyung sent to annihilate them. Doyle spares them no mercy, facing the clown who roars that he's been tasked to catch Jikhail, which is just hilarious because Doyle gives him the "who the fuck are you?" look. Seokhyuk stupidly rushes to attack the one guy who literally broke his damn teeth moments prior. Doyle even gives him a warning to look below. But that turns out to be a lie as he pulls a gun to his face. One headshot is all it takes to launch the clown flying. Their next target is Seokdong High, as Doyle towers over the delinquent, who just can't fathom why he's attacking them. In response, this man utters one word, pork. And then he pulls the trigger, kick-starting the extermination of Seokdong High. 2 whole months passed after the incident. The season is changing, and Jinju has quickly transitioned into becoming our boy's fangirl. Doyle reminds him not to be so humiliating as a 20-year-old man. He has volunteered to become Doyle's right-hand man, following him wherever he goes. Jinju argues that any strong person ends up becoming an older brother figure, and for the longest time, he revered Jicheol as the tallest mountain peak. But now, he learned that there exists an even bigger mountain beyond the likes of Jikhail. Of course, Doyle is strolling off to his thoughts, recalling that he had Jongchan arrested, but for some reason, Jinju escaped without punishment. Turns out that Jinju only received a warning as he wouldn't rat out any information. All this clown cared about was cooking muscles at the gym, so the police officer was helpless in that case. Jinju begs to be accepted as his assistant, vowing to serve him for the rest of his life. Doyle is getting annoyed, so he accepts. While this is happening, the horny Mina draws attention to her hot figure. But our boy is too much of a Sigma male to bat her an eye. Mina thinks someone should wipe her sweat, and when Jinju offers to do it, she calls him a pervert. Doyle is starting to amuse the possibility of killing these clowns and escaping Korea at this point. As for Donggu, he's receiving a punishment as an exercise. Poor guy doesn't know if he's being pranked or trained. He wanted it, so he's getting forced to train his physical body, mostly his lower body. Even though Doyle has yet to teach him a single technique, our boy doesn't care if he whines or complains. He's just handling things his own way. Later, Doyle demands 6 million won for the eradication of Seokdong High, the performance bonus being a sky-high amount. Even though it should be only 1,000,000, Doyle argues that it will take a lot more effort defeating Seokdong High than the gang he just annihilated. He's done his research in advance, but Doyle breaks the fourth wall and argues that the enemies who appear later are obviously always stronger, a rule in fiction. And when it comes to working with Donggu as an annoying teammate, things end up being more difficult. Doyle agreed to train him to the point of death so that Donggu could have the chance to prove himself. And now is the time for him to do just that. He wants Donggu to defeat Park Kangwook as his first opponent. Right now, the strongest person at the school is Kangwook since the other bullies transferred in fear. He wants Donggu to conquer Kangwook and take over the Sumoon territory for himself. Donggu doesn't get how that would work since Doyle is already the boss. But our boy argues that his caliber is world-class and isn't restricted to a tiny high school. Donggu pictures himself being a mean boss controlling the school. Doyle tells him that if he conquers the school, they can collectively demolish Seokdong within the span of a single week. Back at class, the students are murmuring rumors of Donggu challenging Kangwook to a one-on-one battle. They wonder if Donggu's attitude has changed after encountering the transfer student, as he would have never done this in the past. The fight will happen in the auditorium, so the students go rushing to become members of the audience. The entire school has gathered, surrounding both fighters. Donggu is nervous as ever, while Kangwook is thinking he's being toyed with like usual. The official battle between the two is about to begin. As for Doyle, he has quickly become the poster child responsible for slamming Ji Cheol to the ground. Every single eyewitness confirms this fact to be true, even though the footage of their fight was erased. They wonder what could have caused Ji Cheol to end up in a wheelchair, and why he retired from operating his gang, even going so far as to assume that the National Federation was responsible in stopping him. Still, it just doesn't add up how a bunch of weaklings from Sumoon High School could ever beat the psychopath to this degree. Regardless, there were scumbags ready to betray the 12 nations acting as the weakest link. And this brooding meathead is here to take care of those rats. He confronts a group led by Sangsik, who betrayed their boss for his own business. Sangsik orders his men to attack him, but they all get knocked down one after the other like flies. He even grabs one of them and slams a heavy knee to his face. The scene is brutal as this guy isn't even pulling his punches, demolishing his victims. He dashes forth and takes care of the remaining vermin, reaching for Sangsik and grabbing hold of a hammer. Quivering right where he stands, Sangsik tries to strike him, only to get his face splattered by the full weight of the hammer. Brutal sound of torture reverberates throughout the room. Sangsik was decimated for betraying the leader of Seokdong High. As for this behemoth, he's ranked second in the gang, known as Jang Chunsik, who vows to squash Doyle in their eventual encounter. Back to the auditorium, the students are awaiting in anticipation. Doyle is casually enjoying the fight. Donggu's opponent has just knocked the daylights out of him. The underdog is down for the count. Despite taking the heavy hits, Donggu musters the courage to take a stand. His classmates are shocked seeing him getting up after taking such a brutal punch in the face. His opponent was going heavy from the start and left nothing in the tank when it came to destroying him. And yet, Donggu's endurance shines as he still gets up, impressing his peers and adding worry for his opponent. Wiping off the blood from his face, the once cowardly nerd is now standing like a determined warrior ready for round 2. His opponent's expression showed visible worry, so he tried diving in for another punch in an effort to knock Donggu down for good. The powerful hook causes him to falter, but taking a hit like that was nothing new to the beating he received. In an effort to fight back, Donggu threw a punch, but it was a lousy attack, causing his opponent to retaliate with a heavy knee in his abdomen, cursing the kid for being so pathetically weak. Unable to catch a break from that previous attack, Donggu eats yet another heavy blow straight to his face, sending thunder down his body as he crashes across the gym. The scene reminds his friend of a conversation he shared. Donggu talked proudly about being coached by the best fighter he knew, though he had yet to figure out the goals of the ambiguous training Doyle had put him through. It was time to stop relying on Doyle, but his friend suggested that maybe depending on Doyle's strength was a good thing, because that man was born as the monster he was, and normal people like Donggu and him were just commoners. Recalling that conversation, blood trickles down onto the floor as his classmates start to question if Donggu has simply lost his mind for continuing this fight. They start to question if this is really the Donggu they've known all this time. A kid that refuses to stay on the ground, a kid who always gets back up despite the beating. Arming a fighting stance, he puts his opponent under great turmoil. You see, this is the same boy who can't even throw a proper punch, and yet he's got the eyes of a determined warrior, ready to face any obstacle in his path. The scene reminds his opponent of the exact same situation with Yongchan, as without Doyle's help, the kid is worthless on his own. And yet, he showed Yongchan a glare of determination as well. The only logical conclusion is that he must have been acting brave, delusionally thinking that it will help salvage his situation. Or so his opponent believes. This time he is resolute in putting Donggu down for good. So he lunges forth with incredible speed, aiming to knock his opponent unconscious this time. The heavy speed lunge resulted in a powerful fist hurled against Dong's face, who tried to return the blow but in vain. Donggu ended up eating a kick in the face, making me think his favorite meal is getting beat up. Anyway, that devious kick causes his classmates to worry for him, as it sends him flying, knocking him down again. Seeing the fight unfold, Doyle's reactions show no signs of worry or concern. It's almost as if he doesn't care about the outcome of this fight. Well, moments afterwards, Donggu's head was repeatedly bashed to remind him of his position on the ground, his opponent hurling and roaring at him to stay down, cursing his lungs out. Completely deprived of his strength, the man stares down Donggu's beat-up body, treating him as an annoying cockroach who doesn't know his own place. The fight seems to be over as his opponent angrily draws away, shoving past anyone who comes near him. Continuing the conversation between Donggu and his friend, he came to a pause and agreed that Doyle and them were too different. He can never hope to become a monster like Doyle, but that's not what he's after anyway. A loud roar erupts in the gymnasium. Donggu questions where his opponent is running off to when the fight isn't even over yet. It causes Kangwook to stop dead in his tracks, like someone just asked him English or Spanish or something. As Kangwook turns around, his expression turns to shit, looking like he just saw a ghost. He grits his teeth, quenching his anger, bolting right at his opponent with another strike. Calling Donggu a zombie, he throws a full swing jab right in Donggu's face, the kind of attack that should basically rob you of your motivation to continue the fight. Still, faced with so much pain, Donggu smiles instead of despairing at the situation. Kangwook thinks the kid has lost it, even though the attack is fully connected, so there's no chance it wouldn't have inflicted pain. Retaliating sharply, Donggu goes on the offensive, causing Kangwook to panic as he evades with caution. The scene transitions into a conversation he shared with his teacher, Doyle, questioning how he was going to beat an opponent like Kangwook. It was then Doyle gave him an easy hint that he will definitely beat Kangwook, meaning he will win eventually as the fight continued on. And that's exactly what's happening right now, as even though Kangwook chucks a heavy blow in his abdomen, Donggu's got a mean-ass expression on his face. This boy has changed big time. Kangwook can't believe that he's actually hitting someone and they're reacting like this. Back in his conversation, Doyle explained his reasoning. He mentioned that a usual fight doesn't last longer than 3 minutes, and beyond that requires sheer willpower. Since there isn't a massive weight difference between Kangwook and Donggu, the only determining factor of the fight would be willpower. And that has been the purpose of Donggu's training throughout this time, though Kangwook doesn't even expect anything like that coming his way. It meant his chances of victory would skyrocket right as he went past 3 minutes. Lo and behold, the first hit connects. Donggu finally bashes Kangwook with a powerful jab, causing him to stagger, exhaustion eating at his legs. Thanks to his stupid temper tantrum, this idiot wasted too much of his energy in a fight like this. This hurt his speed greatly, allowing Donggu to unleash a second attack, a painstaking knee in the face, knocking Kangwook down to his knee. With his opponent practically useless to defend against, Donggu throws a bundle of powerful fists, hitting Kangwook's body as if he were some kind of motionless punching bag. Donggu finishes with a powerful uppercut right against Kangwook's chin, the battle looking winnable, thanks to the endurance built over months of training. But don't be fooled, the fight isn't over yet. Donggu is hammered by Kangwook's strong fist, right when he wasn't expecting it. Returning to Doyle's conversation, he mentioned that their strategy going into the fight would be to utilize willpower paired with immense physical strength. Kangwook goes heavy on the offense, but the fight feels equal as Donggu returns each attack. Both of them are taking hits and then returning them promptly, jolting each other's bodies back from the pain of every strike. Doyle left him with a simple piece of advice that I'm sure everyone can follow. He told him that when he felt like his most vulnerable, it was then he should make his body scream out another attempt to try just one more time. Donggu channels that advice into his core as he races forward, recalling each time he was brutally beaten up by his bullies, recalling how Kangwook made a fool out of him on every occasion, his goons toying with him. Each of those moments become ammunition for him, a reason to beat the daylights out of this piece of shit. Donggu's eyes are filled with a new flame of determination, a will to fight. He commands his body forward, greatly shocking his friend by his performance. It is then he remembers Donggu's words from the end of the conversation, who concluded that he was fine being himself and didn't want to become someone like Doyle. Each student widens their eyes in shock, while Doyle is mogging them all looking unfazed at the outcome of the fight. Donggu's apocalyptic uppercut just now was him pouring beyond his 100%. At last the fight is over, the battle won. Kangwook is on the ground, while Donggu maintains his stand. His friends come rushing to celebrate the big win, embracing him with love. Donggu is no longer the weak, pathetic underdog anymore. He's the new boss of his high school, and rightfully so. Over to the Russian branch of the Blackhead organization, a secretary has sent all the necessary details to their secret messenger. Focusing back to the scene of the school, Doyle communicates with someone using wireless headphones, surprising Donggu immensely. He's also confused who Doyle is on the phone with, or where they're even headed. Our boy just can't handle this talkative worrywart who bothers him with a ton of questions. As promised, Doyle wants to eradicate the Seokdong gang within a week's time. And here's his first target. Inside the room, a delinquent is busy torturing a nerd like a typical Tuesday in a gang. They're irritated to meet a bunch of intruders popping out of nowhere. Doyle emphasizes that he's going to make true to his promise, and within mere moments, the entire room is filled with bodies on the ground. Their group leader is terrified to meet Doyle's gaze, shocked to find that Samoon High possesses a powerhouse such as him. This guy is Jiangsu, boasting the 4th rank among the Seokdong gang. But as usual, Doyle bitch slaps him and his group with his unorthodox fighting style, making excellent use of his surroundings. Trembling on the ground in fear, Jiangsu is met with one terrifying question. It's a choice between life and death, raising the stakes even higher. Doyle tells him to listen carefully to what he's about to ask. The first thing he wants to know about is the gambling site these bastards are running, chasing young people as their demographic. Doyle wants this clown to surrender the evidence and involvement of Jiangsu's men on the newly installed app. At this point, Jiangsu is perplexed how a random guy knows about his website. The second thing Doyle has for him is an order to forward to their boss, Wang Kwakui. It's a deadline to meet Doyle in Sumun High and surrender while he still can. He points to Donggu as the boss of Sumun High, demanding Kwakui to kneel before the boss of the school, and if he does, there won't be any needless fighting. Jiangsu is utterly stumped that Skindiana Jones over here, who looks like a nerd and weak as shit, is actually the boss of the school. He's even more worried that this guy may be stronger than Doyle, which is hilarious as hell. Donggu stops Doyle to check on what he just heard. Our boy thinks his plan is simple and solid, but perhaps he doesn't know about the kind of man Kwakui truly is. He's all kinds of frightening, so saying something like that is like asking for a death wish. Arguing that there's going to be a gang fight, Doyle believes it's going to be Sumun against Seokdong. It's pretty simple actually. So far, each person Doyle defeated caused another one to take their place and pop out of the blue. He's annoyed and doesn't want to take that painstaking route again. Instead, he's looking to annihilate Seokdong in a head-on collision. Donggu is scared shitless to remind him about the insane number of gang members they're gonna have to fend off in Seokdong. He's losing his mind, but Doyle is too busy aura farming and doesn't care about the details. He turns to Jiangsu, reminding him to bring their leader to him in person. Even Jiangsu lets out a nervous laugh, pointing out the irony of the situation. Normally, people are usually avoiding Kwakui like their life depended on it. But here, this man is asking to meet the devil himself in person. It's not surprising why Jiangsu is reacting like this. Cutting to a warehouse in Gimshan, we get to see one guy taking the piss, literally out of fear. What he sees before him is a monster destroying every human in his path with incredible speed. He's like a ghost with an unmatched speed. The moment this random gang member tries to escape, his life is already cut short as a blade slices his throat. This psychopath merely smiles in glee. Jiangsu can't believe that Doyle wants to actually meet this guy, the boss that is known to be violent and unstoppable. This guy is literally throwing hands with everyone, cutting entire groups without breaking a sweat. Unfortunately, Kwakui is busy wrapping things up on a business trip, so finding him now would be hard. But Jiangsu promises to inform Doyle of his return back to Seoul. Here's the plot twist. The psychopath we saw just now, the one who was casually dismantling groups on his own, isn't Wang Kwakui. In fact, he experiences true fear when Saitama's death fist is aiming right at his face, sending him flying from a single punch and knocking his damn teeth out. Even though I thought the boss was going to be a disheveled psychopath like Jikeol, it turns out he's actually dripped out with a suit and a serious man. Back in Seoul, Jikeol is being detained on a wheelchair, his life crippled forever, and he receives an unexpected visitor to his cell. As per the usual, Doyle's name is famous thanks to the advertised posters. Chunsik learns about Doyle's recent dismantling of Seokdong High's groups. He also learns that the real boss is actually Donggu, and that Doyle is nothing more than a subordinate to this guy. Jiangsu reports how these guys barged in without notice and ordered to summon their leader with an ultimatum. Jiangsu acts tough, stating that he handled the threat and sent the kids right back home. Chunsik rips off the poster, believing that this world has truly gone crazy. His verdict? Just leave them be, after all. Doyle is supposedly the rumored guy who also beat Jikeol. Chunsik is more than certain that he's a con artist who falsely advertised his own name. To him, Doyle appears to be some kind of attention-seeking brat going around spreading lies. So in reality, not a single soul will ever believe Jikeol lost to him, which also means he might want to do the same to Seokdong High. Chunsik thinks that these attention-seeking pests are nothing more than insects at the end of the day, who should be ignored and deprived of attention. Back at their school, Doyle is leisurely enjoying himself when Donggu worriedly asks if Kwakui will really show up to their school. He's afraid of the worst if Kwakui does come around, but Doyle is confident they'll be able to overwhelm their gang's leader in one way or another. But Donggu thinks this guy is overestimating his abilities because he knows next to nothing about the Seokdong gang leader. He's meaner than mean, a supposed guy who has far surpassed the limitations of humans. A man known to be human, but his strength makes you question whether he truly is or not. Doyle inquires more, causing Donggu to tell him a story regarding a rumor he heard about Kwakui. Apparently, this son of a gun was responsible for beating a bear to death after it escaped from a zoo. This bear was wreaking havoc and scaring the people, until he showed up. One man was responsible for beating it dead, and that man was none other than Wang Kwakui himself. Enjoying his drink, Doyle doesn't even bother to flinch, while Donggu is worried to death. Doyle argues that there isn't any point in lamenting their situation with how far they've come. While they're having their chat, a secret spy is eavesdropping on their conversation. Doyle confidently concludes that the gang's leader will definitely show up in Sumun. Back at Jongsu and Chunsik's meeting, Jongsu talks about how this supposed attention seeker Doyle could pose trouble for them and create chaos, just like Chaeho. Chunsik remembers Chaeho, the dude from the National Federation. But that guy's so powerful that Jongsu would never have survived an encounter against them. Little does Chunsik know, Jongsik has his balls in his throat because that's literally what happened in his encounter against Doyle. He nearly died. Chunsik's chicks show up with a bunch of snacks. He chats them up, introducing himself as a member of Seokdong, and learns that the girl is from Cheongil High, where one of their gang members also studies. While he's busy drowning in pussy, Jongsu is irritated out of his mind to see Chunsik worried about a girl and not one of his own. Doyle ended up going to Jongsu's residence so he could always beat him black and blue if he betrays their deal. But if he ends up telling Chunsik the truth about the situation and how badly his men were beaten, then he's going to really get killed. Poor Jongsu is losing his damn mind, placed in the middle of a clusterfuck of a situation. That is until one guy comes panting to inform their leader about a huge problem. Seokyuk's workshop has just been hacked, causing Chunsik great shock. And when I tell you what these guys did, Donggu's out here posing with love, disrespectfully clowning on them for getting their information hacked. Chunsik receives a proper message from the school's boss to arrive in Samoon, effective immediately. Jongsu realizes it must be them. Chunsik takes the call and learns that the Seodaemun workshop ended up getting robbed. And when he hears Donggu's name, his blood boils as he smashes the phone between his fingers. The scene cuts to Doyle in his typical aura-farming nonchalant Sigma male, I am the protagonist stride. Stopping before his bike, Doyle senses someone and immediately launches a projectile against the one secretly tailing him. Chunsik is getting pissed as hell because of his own confusion, demanding his subordinate to speak clearly. As if this wasn't enough, someone smashes their door open. It's Wang Kwakwi, their boss has returned. And with his mere presence, they all lower their bodies to pay their leader great respect. Chunsik is sweating bullets. He looks like a pussy with a tail between his legs around this behemoth. He apologizes for not greeting his boss properly. But Kwakwi cares little about those things, and immediately asks about Samoon's location on the map, all the while chugging down some liquor. Baffled, Chunsik inquires in confusion. Kwakwi smashes the bottle to the nearest wall. His intentions remain hidden as the scene cuts to his interaction with Jicheol in his detainment. Kwakwi is rather disappointed to share a conversation with a cripple, who was once a powerful and ruthless gang leader. Holding out his hand against the glass pane, Jicheol gives him a menacing look, wishing Kwakwi well for his safety. This is basically his way of saying, you're about to get your ass kicked to the moon and back. Jicheol remarks how a small moment can result in a lifetime's worth of injury and pain. His last words noted the existence of a creature as demonic as Satan living amongst the students of Samoon High School. And it is because of that, Kwakwi ordered for an immediate arrangement of his troops to prepare for the battle against Samoon High. Now, Doyle is sticking to his American ways and questions if the blonde is the one secretly spying on him all this time. Apparently, Doyle is supposed to be this person's captain, suggesting a connection to his former team. Anyway, things are finally getting serious with Wang Kwakwi officializing Seokdong's attack against Samoon High School.